This module describes a simple shortcut that you can use for setting default values for variables. Now, you often find yourself writing code that looks like the following. Test to see if a variable is set. In this case, test to see if var1 is set. Or in this case, test to see if it's not set. And if it's not set, then set it to its default value. We frequently need to do that. Now, there is actually a shortcut for all of those 4 lines, and it is just the following. The syntax is a little confusing, so bear with me. We've essentially got our $ followed by some information enclosed in curly brackets, in braces. And it's almost like inside the curly brackets we're just saying var1 equals whatever its default value is, but it's not exactly that because we've put a colon there as well. It's var1 colon equals its default value. So if you can get your head around that and remember it, it's actually a very useful thing rather than typing the above lines. There's only one little problem with that, and that is if you just type that line in on the command line by itself, it will in fact set var1 to be, in this case, some default value, but then the shell will actually try and run that as a command, which is not what you want. So instead, what you typically do is you put a colon, which is a command that does absolutely nothing, and then you specify all of the above as the first parameter to the colon. In other words, you're specifying it as the first parameter to a program that does absolutely nothing. So the program, the command line, will do nothing, but the variable will still get set to its default value. Alternatively, you could say, simply assign that to a second variable, which would cause var1 and var2 to both be equal to the same thing. So let's have a look at that now in a script. Here is a little test var script. Now I'll run this and see what we get. Now we get an error message saying hello, command not found, and var1 is set to hello. So var1 actually does successfully get set to hello, but as you can see, the very first line there is treated as a command line in its own right. In other words, the variable is substituted and it evaluates to hello, so hello is tried to be evaluated as a command line. We don't want that, so we insert the colon like that, and we try it again, and this time we don't get the error message, but var1 is still set to hello. So what happens if var1 is already set to something? Okay, so I've just inserted a line that says var1 equals initial value. So theoretically, this line here should do now absolutely nothing because it won't set var1 because var1's already been set. So let's test that. And var1 is set to initial value. So the second line, the one that the cursor's currently highlighting, is in this case a line that does absolutely nothing at all because var1 has already got a value when it gets to that point. So there's a nice little trick that you can use. It's a handy default setting and a useful shortcut for shell scripts.